Dragon Ball The Breakers recently just had a closed beta, and originally I was fairly skeptical of the game, but after playing the closed beta, I'm actually looking forward to the game. For those of you who don't know, Dragon Ball The Breakers is an 8-player asymmetrical action game where you can either A, play as a raider, which in this case was Cell, and defeat all the survivors in order to win, or B, play as one of 7 survivors and win by either 1, getting the super time machine working so everybody can escape, 2, getting the regular time machines working so maybe everybody can escape or maybe a few people can escape, or 3, transforming and fighting Cell to win. And to be honest, right, the asymmetrical action game genre has never really interested me, right? I mean, I've played Dead by Daylight and I've also played Friday the 13th, and not saying that those games are bad, because they're absolutely not, but it's just that genre never really got my interest. But after playing this game, I'm actually excited for it, and it's starting to get me into that genre. Now, let's be honest, part of that reason is because it's Dragon Ball characters. If it wasn't Dragon Ball characters in this game, more than likely, I probably would not have given it the time of day. But seeing as it takes place within Xenoverse specifically, but just in a general retrospect in the Dragon Ball universe, it makes a lot of sense, because I've seen a lot of people give this game a lot of slack, and the main reason, or at least from what I've been able to deduce, is because it's not like your traditional Dragon Ball game where you're fighting left and right, like big explosions, like, you know, everywhere. And I get it, Dragon Ball does have a lot of action, but there are also a lot of moments in Dragon Ball where there wasn't like action per se, but more so it's people just trying to survive. And we've seen this countless times, like when Vegeta and Nappa invaded Earth, or when Cell went amok on Earth. Heck, we even saw it with Boo going crazy on Earth, and he actually succeeded in blowing up the planet. So a game like this makes a ton of sense. I mean, based on my experience with playing the game, which I got to play as both a raider and the survivors, it was definitely interesting. When you're playing as a raider, you feel powerful, right? You're playing as Cell, which also I think this is the first game we're actually able to play as Larva-Cell. I didn't even know that was a possibility. But still, you feel powerful. You're able to roam around the map at a pretty solidly fast speed, actually. Faster than any other character can go anyway. And you're able to wipe them out, get stronger, gain more abilities, and be able to wipe out the survivors as quick as possible, with the added exception of being able to fire a Kamehameha in a straight line and destroy anything within that path, or to just completely destroy a section of the map whenever you transform or you absorb enough enemies to power up a bit more, etc., etc. You're able to detect ki, you're able to do so much with the raider to the point where you really do feel powerful, and that if you catch somebody, it's game over for them. Whereas when you play as a survivor, there is that feeling of helplessness, because that's what's supposed to be portrayed. You're running away from the raider in order to be able to escape and be safe. But just because you have that initial feeling of helplessness does not mean that playing as a survivor is bad, because surprisingly, I actually enjoy playing as a survivor way more than I do as a raider, because you have lots of tactics and options to choose from in order to either escape being detected or just survive in general. One of the things that I was using the most as a survivor was the transformation technique, because even though it can screw you over at times, you can transform into anything. Well, I'll say anything respectively, because it's either a chair, a pot, a plant, or I believe a barrel. But even transforming into those things, when you do so, you can't be detected by Cell, and that helps out significantly, especially if you're like one of the last few standing, or if he starts trying to detect ki nearby, because more often than not, if you're not transformed when he's detecting ki, you're going to get caught. There are also other methods to avoid Cell as well. Like, one of them was a tethering line that you can use to grasp onto areas that have a decent distance away and move very quickly to that area to kind of, you know, traverse around the gigantic map. Another was the space pod, which I think was actually the best traversal mechanic for survivors in the game. because you drop a pod and it has a slight AoE, and if Cell is within that AoE, it will stun him, and from there you hop into the pod and fly straight in the air, and you're so high up that Cell can't get you, and you can go to any place on the map that has not been destroyed. So I use that a ton to be able to escape from Cell. And there's also transforming. Now, when you transform, you have different stages. You have 1 through 3, technically 4, but mainly 1 through 3. Now, personally speaking, I use transformations for the method of escape, right? Because usually when I'm playing as a survivor, I don't usually get up to level 3. I'm usually around 1 or 2. Level 3 is the spot where you're able to fend off Cell, but for not that long, honestly speaking. I mean, if it's you and other people at level 3, you can probably fight Cell and beat Cell, but if it's just you, more often than not, you can fend him off, but you won't beat him. So I use it as a method of escape where I will fly away and get the pod ready, have the pod drop, and then fly into the pod, and then escape, and then try to stall from there. But that's also where level 4 comes in. Again, level 4 is situational because you have to gather all of the Dragon Balls and wish to get up to level 4. Where if you get to level 4, then you can actually solo Cell. But just because you have that power doesn't mean that you're going to succeed in defeating Cell. So there are various options that you can do for, again, maneuvering or even trying to fend off Cell in this game. And they're fairly solid to a degree. I played all 4 sessions of the beta, and I really was surprised with the experience that I had. And I say that because, again, I was very skeptical about this game at first, but after playing it a lot, I found myself wanting to play it more, right? Because I understand what they're trying to accomplish with this game, if you will. Now, that's not to say that this game is perfect by any means. This game definitely has flaws, and I believe that they need to fix those flaws in order to make this a much better game. But they do have something here with this genre and using the Dragon Ball IP, and I really do want to see that potential get realized. So for me, talking about my experiences with this beta, I should say, there are some downsides that I do want to point out, in hopes that if this video just so happens to get to the eyes and ears of Bandai, that they're willing to fix these issues to make it a better game. And it's important that I note this, but all of these issues are of my own personal opinion. You guys do not have to agree with me if you don't want to. But also, I do want to know what you guys' opinions on this beta is as well. So if you have any concerns for the game or things that you would like to see them fix, definitely let me know in the comment section below. One of the biggest issues I have in the game is the animation when you obtain a key. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, keys are probably one of the most important items, if not the most important item in the game, because you use those to bring down the super time machine. The issue I have with that is the animation when you find a key and when you obtain a key are far too long. Because again, this is a game where time is of the utmost importance. So keeping us stationary for a long period of time where we have absolutely no control of the situation is practically screaming, "Come get me, Cell." So I believe that they should shorten the animations, either to just, I don't know, have the animation of you finding the key and then that's that, or the animation of you obtaining the key and that's that. Or if they decide to keep both animations, shorten them so it's a respectable length, because again, with how long it is, Cell could definitely find you and wipe you out in a heartbeat, which would completely derail your entire plan of being able to survive very easily. And again, time is of crucial importance, so you don't need to be wasting time based off of some animation you have no control over. The other issue I have is the fact that the movement speed for survivors is pretty bad. And I say that because we've seen in the game, or at least if you guys played the beta or if you've seen gameplay, that raiders have very high speed, and that's an understatement. Larva Cell is able to traverse through the entire area at a relatively fast speed. Now, do I think that the survivor should be that fast? Absolutely not, right? It's obviously a perk of the raider to be faster than the survivors because he needs to be able to catch them and wipe them out so that he can achieve his goal. But as a survivor, I don't think our movement speed should be that slow, because more often than not, even if you use certain items, like for example the smoke screen, you're more than likely not going to be able to escape unless you have the pod ready. And even at that, Cell still has the ability to destroy the pod, which would leave you completely hopeless. Now, there are other abilities that can forestall Cell as well, but in a general retrospect, you should have a relatively solid chance of escaping if you're able to smoke screen Cell, have a pod land on him, shoot him with items, etc., and your movement speed matters heavily in that regard. And the fact that it's that low definitely worries me. Again, I don't think that Survivor should be anywhere near as fast as Cell, but the movement speed that we had during the beta, I feel is a bit too slow. So if they can speed that up even just a bit, I think that'll help out a lot. This next issue is Steam specific, although it can also be tied in with the PS5 and Xbox Series S and X versions of the game as well. But the game is capped at 60 hertz. Now, I get it, right? 60 frames per second is usually that frame rate that most developers try to strive for, with the bare minimum being 30 frames per second. But obviously your PC, as well as the PS5, and I believe the Xbox Series S and X, I'm kind of skeptical about that one, but I know for a fact the PS5 and especially your PC can handle higher refresh rates. So we should be able to achieve frame rates like 120 frames per second for sure up to the PS5, and for your PC, it should be unlocked, period, because there is no limitation on your PC. And in a game where, again, movement speed is very important, you want to be able to have better reaction times, to be able to maneuver out the way quickly, to be able to do certain actions quickly. And having a higher refresh rate helps with that tremendously. So again, 60 frames is nice as a standard, and 30 frames is okay based off of, for actually whatever reason, but at the very least for the PC version of the game, we should be able to go up to 120 frames per second, 144 frames per second, 160 frames per second, like my monitors can handle, or just unlock the frame limit in general and let us have an uncapped frame rate and see how that works. Because again, I would much rather be able to react quickly than have a slower reaction time when I know my PC for sure can handle way more than that. And this last one is equally as important as the lock-on feature, but please give us a mini map. Now, there is a map in the game, but in order to access the map, you have to open up the start menu, and in doing so, you block off darn near your entire field of view to view the map in order to traverse, which ultimately is counterintuitive, because what's the point of trying to traverse if you can barely see? And again, where movement is important, you don't need your vision being blocked off. So in order to rectify that problem, give us a mini-map. And not only that, within the mini-map and even the main map too, give us like location data, like allow us to see where the supply drops happen at, by giving us maybe like a green dot on the mini-map and on the main map. You don't really have to pinpoint where the super time machine lands, because we all know where it lands, but if you want to put that on there alongside where all the regular time machines will fall at, give us a blue dot on the screen. And maybe to be able to see where your teammates are at as well, because you get a vague idea by seeing their name along just the gigantic map. But still, on like a mini map and on the main map from the start menu, give us like a red dot to signify where our teammates are at. But that's it. That's kind of the only information we need, so that way the map isn't broken. For example, like the map showing us where the Dragon Balls are at, or the map showing us where Cell is at, or things of that nature, right? We don't necessarily need that, because then that becomes way too powerful of a tool against a raider, and that won't be fair. But for the things I listed earlier, that is definitely necessary, and a mini map will help with that significantly. So please add that into the game. There is literally no reason not to have it in there. And also, this is like a quick thing, but also fix the camera. Like, the camera is kind of janky a little bit. Like, it absolutely can be fixed. And also, I think they should probably zoom in out from the character a bit more. That's just a personal preference. But yeah, fix the camera. The camera needs work too. Like I said before, this game does need some work. But apart from the things that I've listed, the game itself still was very enjoyable. Again, I found myself gravitating towards playing the game a lot more, over and over and over again, when I have a ton of games that I should actually be playing right now. And when the beta was over, I still found myself wanting to play a lot more, and usually that's a good sign. But again, I don't want any of these issues to go and fall upon deaf ears. I want them to actually get into the eyes and ears of the developers so they can at the very least take it into consideration to make the game better. This game does have potential. It absolutely does. And that's apart from it, you know, being just a Dragon Ball IP game, it's genuinely fun, especially when you play with friends. And even at that, I found myself enjoying it while playing solo as well. But if they want the game to survive, they should really take fan feedback into consideration. And I'm hoping that they take not only mine, but everybody else's concerns into consideration as well. And that's where you guys come in. Again, I enjoyed the game, but I do want to know what you guys' concerns are for this game in the comment section below. Like maybe graphics, gameplay, certain elements that you may deem as broken or unfair, whatever the case may be. If you have any gripe with the game that you would like to see them either improve or ultimately fix, let me know in the comment section below. I'm really hoping that this game will succeed, but only time will tell. But with that being said, I'm Ndukauba, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.